Hello, and thank you for joining us. We know there are lots of sessions from which to choose, and we are so happy you chose ours. I am Randy Romano-Kaitzer, and I serve Friends of Leche League International as their social media coordinator. So please like, share, and comment on our posts. Looking back, it's almost unbelievable. It's been 65 years of helping and nurturing mothers and families. When we had conferences in person, Friends, then known as the Leche League Alumni Association, sponsored a tea for conference attendees. The tea included a special We Remember observance to honor leaders who had passed away. Today, we recreate those teas with our online event. If you'd like, please print a placemat to help enjoy the occasion. Make yourself a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, or another beverage of your choice, and sit back and relax. Listen to our story, watch the video clips from our oral history series, and finally, participate in the We Remember ceremony. Again, we're glad you're here and look forward to sharing this special time with you.
Hello. We are happy to be participating virtually at the Leche League International 65th Anniversary Conference. We welcome this opportunity to talk about our Friends of Leche League organization, which is now celebrating its 35th anniversary. The idea for the organization arose at a Texas area conference in 1986. Several seasoned leaders were looking for ways to maintain their connection to the Leche League. And with the many reserve and retired leaders that they knew, they were hoping to help one another navigating mothering beyond breastfeeding into the teen years and onto grandparenting and beyond. After discussions with Marion Thompson and Betty Spandikow, the Leche League International Board of Directors voted to create the Leche League Alumni Association in October of that year. A members newsletter was launched and the organization grew with support from Leche League International. In 2007, the Alumni Association started operating independent of Leche League International funding, and they continued to grow and change. Then in 2018, we underwent an organizational reevaluation, and we reformed the organization under the name of Friends of Leche League, with new bylaws, branding, and the logo that you see on these slides today. The mission statement for Friends of Leche League continues to reflect the original concepts for the organization, specifically support Leche League as a resource and inspiration for future generations, to encourage lifelong connections with the Leche League community, and to share the insights and wisdom that began with the breastfeeding relationship. So what is it we do to achieve that mission? We broadly do four things. We share information and insights, things that are of interest to active and former leaders. We provide opportunities to connect those same active and former leaders. We honor leaders. And we provide financial support to Leche League International and to breastfeeding projects across the globe. We'll expand a little bit on each of these broad areas. We share insights and wisdom most widely via our public Facebook page, which has over 4,000 followers. We have a dedicated team that posts daily with interesting information about breastfeeding, parenting at different stages, grandparenting, and more. For our members, we still provide a regular newsletter named Continuum, which is delivered via email. Continuum is a full-color publication loaded with articles of interest to our members. book reviews, Friends of Leche League news, and a lot more. Our organizational tagline, "A Lifetime Connection," speaks to the importance to us of connecting active and forward leaders. One way we do this is through our private Facebook group, which has over 1,200 participants. Here we post info of interest to the Friends of Leche League community, as well as invitations to special events. This year, we've taken advantage of new technology to offer virtual happy hours to connect Friends of Leche League members online via Zoom. Although we limit sign up for each session to allow everyone to participate, these happy hours have proved very popular, with many participating. It is lovely to see members reconnect with old friends, meet new people, talk about their current lives, and share special memories from Little League. Our favorite way to connect leaders is in person at Friends of Leche League trips. The Alumni Association hosted its first trip, a Grand Canyon hiking adventure, back in 1998. Since then, trips have been offered to various locations about every 2 years. These photos just show a sampling. Our latest trip was to New Orleans in November 2019, where we celebrated with Marion Thompson for her 90th birthday. Sadly, COVID concerns caused us to postpone a planned trip for this year, but we're moving forward with plans to host an in-person trip to Tucson, Arizona in late 2022. Friends of Leche League is proud to honor leaders through sales of leader recognition pins. We offer pins to celebrate leaders on their 5th, 10th, 15th, and so on, up to their 50th year of active service to Leche League. We also have a leader pin without a year, which is perfect to honor newly accredited leaders, as you can see in the picture. If you haven't already, we hope you will consider going to our website to buy one of the special pins we commissioned to celebrate the 65th anniversary of Leche League International. You can see the pin at the bottom of the picture. We also offer individuals a way to make personal tributes to inspiring leaders and special people in their lives who inspired them as a leader and in their mothering journeys, and in helping others in those same journeys. Tributes are published on our website and in our newsletter Continuum. We are most proud of our work on the We Remember program. This program honors deceased leaders. As we learn of a leader's death, we record the name in calligraphy in the We Remember album shown here. And we add the name to the listings on our website. We hope you will watch our We Remember ceremony, which follows the presentation. Leche League founder Marion Thompson and some others will read all the names of those added to our album since the last We Remember ceremony on our New Orleans trip in 2019. The We Remember ceremony is a moving rite to honor the contributions of these leaders. Friends of Leche League also provides financial support to a variety of Leche League and breastfeeding causes. Funded through our memberships and donations, Friends of Leche League gives back to the community. Over several years, the Alumni Association donated over $25,000 to Leche League's U.S. breastfeeding helpline. We've also funded other special projects such as the 60th anniversary DVD and hosting Leche League founders to attend the Friends of Leche League trips. Starting in 2018, Friends of Leche League decided to make sizable direct support to breastfeeding projects through our mini grants program. These provide funding to projects that further our mission. We received numerous applications for mini grants, and in the 2 years that we have had this program in place, we've approved grants of over $13,000 to 9 projects worldwide. This slide shows the scope and highlights the variety of the 2018 and 2020 mini grants projects. As examples, in British Columbia, Canada, leader Laura Michael planned an online prenatal initiative kit to encourage expectant mothers to attend the Leche League meetings. A grant to Samela Petrodou, a Leche League leader in South Africa, helped her to place the latest version of the Womanly Art of Breastfeeding in libraries across her country. In Houston, Texas, leader Paula Clay encouraged formerly incarcerated mothers at the Santa Maria Hostel to breastfeed their babies by purchasing slings, informational materials, and breastfeeding art for the center. And the Leche League of Israel used grant funds to produce YouTube videos and other breastfeeding materials for Arabic-speaking mothers in that country. We look forward to hearing about more exciting projects for our 2021 mini grants program. To conclude, pictured here are the current board of directors of Friends of Leche League, but only a small number of the people who have guided the organization through its 35 years. Also know that we have many, many other volunteers who help with our finances, social media, continuum, mini grants, and more. We hope that you'll visit our website, friendsofll.org. We hope that you'll become a member, and we hope you will help us continue connections for years to come. Thank you.
I think that it's part of, you know, in part of our hearts, and so it's just our psyche, and this is what framed us as adults, because we had our growing up, our formative years with our parents, and then becoming mothers and being part of the Leche League was the formation, and that was one of the things also with the idea with the alumni organization, or the Friends of Leche League, was that we felt that there wasn't a place we had raised our children, and then if you had, as you had, might have some problems in teenage years, if you didn't have Leche League minded people who would go, oh my God, yeah, I went through that with so and so, you'd have people who you knew were judging you, saying, hey, if you hadn't obliged and taken care of that kid or indulged that kid when they were young, what did you expect when they got older? Which of course isn't the case at all, but it was a defense mechanism, sort of.
Right, but yeah, the people you surround yourself and your children's friends do not necessarily share your same philosophies, and so it's nice to be able to tap into those the Leche League friends and know that they understand what you're going through and can help you too.
Right, because it's not being closed to your good friends and not revealing things. It's just that you know the source of strength of where you got this, and you know where to go back in to get reassurances that it's okay and it's all going to be okay. And sometimes it isn't. Now, I have to say, a couple of my kids were real pains in the butt, but they're wonderful, wonderful adults, and have provided me with great grandchildren. And but I think that always having that Leche League connection has been, it has formed my parenting and my life.
I've been thinking about what is it about the Leche League that that makes it so special. And it it's that the roots that we have, that we've shared, we've kind of intertwined our roots, and we grow, and we grow in different ways, but we have this common bond that makes it so easy to reconnect. There's a certain, I think it's a sense of trust that we know the kind of choices we've made, and the parenting goals, and the and the kind of mothering that we purposefully did. It is a given. And there's a lot of trust there, that even, I mean, what I love about League is how different we can all be, but yet be so connected by that common bond.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sue Ann Kendall with the Friends of Leche League. I happen to be the Continuum editor at the moment and the secretary. I'm here today, however, because we're celebrating our 35th anniversary with some interviews of people who have been on the Friends and Leche League alumni boards from the past. Today, we have Janet Gendron, who many of you will know from her many activities in La Leche League, but the ones that matter to us are that she was on the Alumni Council from between 2000 and 2009, and as well as between 2015 and 2019, when she roped me into joining the group. And, you know, I will blame her forever. Anyway, I'm here to talk to Janet, and really nice to see you. I've missed talking to you.
Me too, you. Fellow Texas friend.
Yes, we definitely have known each other a while. So one of the things that, you know, I got a list of questions to ask you, and one I'd like to know your answer to, so I'm going to ask it, is do you think the vision of Friends of La Leche League has the vision of this organization changed in your mind since it was founded 35 years ago?
Well, I wasn't there at the founding, but I think it has changed a little bit. The first time I was on the council, I loved what we did, but I always kept saying, could we get a little more involved in supporting breastfeeding with younger people? And I mean, I didn't make a big deal of that. And we were busy doing a lot of things at in-person conferences.
Right.
And of course, that has changed. But I always wanted to see us involved in actually supporting breastfeeding. And that's why when the Friends started giving out mini grants, and I think, you know, I brought that up, and then I never did much work on it, but watching that come to fruition.
Hey, having the idea really counts.
Well, I guess I'm an idea and then I don't do the work sometimes, but it was so beautifully done by those who did, and they just took a hold of it, and it's to me, that was very gratifying, and it's where I think we need to be. Not that I don't think we should get together and have fun, because that's way more valuable than I realized when we first started doing it. Now it's time that's so precious.
Yeah, every time you see your friends, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad.
Well, and it feeds your soul. It really does.
Sure does.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I agree, the mini grants were such a great idea, and we have helped people all around the world with them, which impresses me. I mean, we've helped Israel, we've helped people in Central America, we've helped people in the United States, of different types of people too. So that's made me happy to see it's a diverse group that we've been reaching.
Yeah, and we reached outside La Leche League to do that.
That's right.
That was always really important to me. So yeah.
Well, and that's part of the benefit of being associated with La Leche League International, but not an official branch of La Leche League International. So it's a best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad. That's a great reason that it's changed. So when you, I know you've been to a number of La Leche League International conferences, and you represented the alumni at a lot of them. Could you share a little bit about what kinds of things you did for the alumni when you were doing all your other many things?
Well, I have some memories. It's
I would
not so
love
much-
to share memories.
Yeah, it's not so much what I did, but I do have very concrete memories. And one of them is the care that was taken to prepare that alum room, which was kind of it was supposed to be a haven for busy conference attendees, and it was. And part of the reason was the attention to detail. And Friends does the same thing. There's just a care that's taken of preparing for everything. And Sue Christensen and Pam Oselka just had such a gracious way of getting that room ready. And it made you feel like hostesses. It was a really good example for me. When we had the founders parlors, Edna Kelly was involved, and we both kind of organized that. And it was such a hostess atmosphere. There was an intimacy to people sitting down with the founders and having chats in smaller groups. And I think it was for the founders, it was a place to come and relax a little bit too. So it was just, that's a beautiful memory to me. And then giving the awards at the Alumni Tea was such an honor and so gratifying. I think I had something to do with creating those awards, and to see how it came to fruition was really special. And then the other memory is when you think something is never going to happen, that there's no way, there is a way. And that's Billy Dean. Pam Oselka's daughter had seen that video, Let Them Be Little. And Pam said, do you suppose we could have any way of showing this at the tea or something? And I did the mistress of ceremonies at the tea. And I said, well, I don't know how in the world we'd ever get a hold of him, and how could we even have permission to show that? Because he didn't make that video. He performed in it, but he didn't own the rights.
Yeah, he was just the person in it.
Artist. And, But he wrote the song. And so I was just thinking, well, how can we maybe do this? Well, I was on the attachment parenting board of directors at that point. And Barbara Nicholson, who was a Leche League leader and
knows musicians.
Well, she's married to a songwriter, and I was talking to her about it, and she called me one night and said, guess who's over at the house writing a song with Gary? Billy Dean. And I said, well, I asked him, about doing this tea, and he said yes on the spot if his schedule would make it work. And so from there, it was easy sailing. And I thought, we'll just show the video. And then it turns out he came to the banquet and sang. And it was just a dream come true. And he was didn't charge us hardly anything. His airfare was a couple of $100. And so it worked out. We worried about having enough money, and everything worked out perfectly. And he when he walked Edwina up to, I think she got an award at that banquet, and he walked her up to the microphone. He was so thrilled to have met her. I had met his wife at an event a little bit before that, and she was a teacher who totally understood our ways of being a parent. And it was just copacetic, the whole thing was. And then I have a lot of pictures, and the joy on everyone's face taking pictures with him afterwards. It was just such a special treat. And it was something that I thought, oh, there's no way we can do that. And yes, there was.
And there you did. Well, it helps to have so many connections, but I think that's one thing that La Leche League has done for all of us is make connections in so many different places.
Oh, yes. That decision I made, there's a couple of decisions I made in my life that were just synchronous. They had a synchronicity to them. And one of those is when I decided to breastfeed that first child. And from that one decision, my life changed amazingly. And I know every league leader says this, but because of that, I made connections. I got to know people. I hung out with people who had the values that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned every skill. And I remember back in the days when the web was kind of new, and you were very much of a leader in that, in all of us doing that. I learned all the computer skills I learned doing volunteer league work helped me in the career that I eventually had in assistive.
Well, same here.
And I wasn't afraid to learn new technology. It was just, It was just amazing. And it was all because of that one decision. And because of that, I've had quality friends that I've had for 45 years.
Isn't
Many
that
of them.
something? Yeah.
I know when I got the questions, one of the questions was involved, it was about what do you remember about trips and being with the founders? And
Oh yeah, let's talk about the trips.
well, I didn't go on the early trips. They were so athletic. I'm like, they're climbing, they're hiking.
Not
I don't
anymore.
know if I want to do that, hiking. But so I went on a couple of trips, but the San Diego trip is the one that I can't even tell you. I was having a really rough patch in my life. I mean, it was trauma. And I went out there and I was like surrounded by an army of angels that listened to me, supported me, people I didn't even know that well, and some I really did. And they listened, and I mean, I had a meltdown, and everyone there lifted me up and listened with patience, had no judgment. And it was a very healing experience.
Yes. What a safe place to be, to have that happen.
Yes. I mean, I just can't even put words on it. It was no accident that I ended up out there. And of course, the trips are a lot of fun, but that trip has its whole new aura to it. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really wonderful to see the former leaders and friends, all the way they support each other. I've only been to one trip, the last one that we were both at, but there were people who needed help and people who were going through their own hard patches, and just watching everyone be so kind to them made me feel really good.
And the humility that people have, it's a humility in parenting. It's, we've all been around long enough to know that it isn't black and white and it's not cause and effect. We do our best by our kids, and just because you did it this way doesn't mean they're going to turn out this way. And it's very forgiving, and it's very flexible, despite our strong convictions. And that's a really wonderful group to be around.
So many of us, we watched people raise their children, and then you see how their children have come out, and sometimes something happens and sometimes it's not the way you want it to be, but you saw that woman parenting her child, and she did the very best that she could.
Well, we all do.
Yeah.
I'll do. And I remember years ago when somebody I remember at a conference in South Carolina, actually it was me, asked Marion Kerwin, because I like those kind of questions. And I said, Marion, did any of the founders' kids or daughters-in-law or whatever bottle feed? And she said, well, I don't know for sure. She said, but I'm sure if they did, they had a really good reason. Well, that's the attitude I want to have is, don't judge. Every mother out there is doing the best that she can do. Every parent out there is doing the best he or she can do. We're all trying our best, and it may look a little different. And I learned that in League, and it's other places to learn that, but I first learned it in League, and just accepting somebody, and not accept them where they are as far as they're a rung down the ladder from me. Not at all. Accepting where we all are at that moment, and it changes.
It sure does, and that was a great place to learn it. And for me, it works for everything. It works in your family. It works in your work. It works in your volunteer hours that you spend with things. It works with animals. I mean, it really is a good principle to live by.
Yeah, and with attachment parenting, we have a lot of our information and resources are around nonviolent communication.
Yes.
And that's taken it another step for me, because that really means not labeling, not judging. And it's all through all of life. If you're talking to the lady behind you in the grocery store, that applies there. It's an attitude of acceptance and not having a lot of opinions.
And when you surround yourself with people like that, sometimes you go talk to other people and it's like, oh, that hurts, because you're so used to people just not acting that way anymore. And it can be different.
Well, and what has helped me, it makes me aware of myself when I do that, and I don't mean to, but it comes out of my mouth, and it's not abusive communication, but it's not it's there's a little bit of judgment and labeling and all that, and so I'm more self-aware
Yeah,
because of
because it's a
that.
human instinct. I think people love to put each other into groups, and that's just what they do.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So, since you're talking about memories already, what makes you really, when you think about this group of women, what has made you just brings a smile to your face every single time you think about it? Is it the people? Is it what they've done? Is it their attitude? You know, what is the number one thing that just makes you happy about Friends of La Leche League?
Well, it partly has to do with the humility that I see in everyone, but it's also, I think it's the years. It's how many years we've known each other and we didn't just know each other socially. We put on conferences together. We did all kinds of practical things together. And so we have such a history.
Slept together.
Yeah, that too. In Betty Wagner's bed, I think it was Gail, well, I'm trying to remember who. Anyway, we slept in a double bed and we didn't get much sleep because I wasn't, well, I was used to sleeping with kids all over me, but not with somebody I didn't know that well. That was very interesting. But yeah, for sure. But it's the, I was a military brat, and I hate to use the word brat, but that's what we called ourselves. My dad was in the Air Force, and I never lived anywhere very long. I didn't have childhood friends that I kept forever and ever. And so La Leche League was that for me, that I would have friends for that long and have a way to stay in touch. I mean, there were
Right.
ways.
Yay, internet.
It wasn't even internet. Before that, it was travel to the
Conferences.
conferences and see each other in person again. And so that gave me a stability that I didn't have with friends growing up.
Yeah, those conferences were just such fantastic ways to keep your friendships going. And I'm glad that now that we can't do that, we still do have the internet. It's my family just can't believe I know so much about what's going on in so many different people's lives. But it's like, well, we talk.
I've had people say, is there any city that you don't know somebody in? And the answer is
Probably
there's
not.
plenty, but no.
But yeah, most
plenty.
anywhere you go, you know somebody, and
I'm always saying, well, if
know
we
them
ever
well.
go to New Zealand, I know someone we can stay with.
Exactly. Same here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
that's
wonderful,
one of the best things.
but I appreciate friends for keeping the memories alive and for doing the work of connection on a personal level. It's not all work. There's a personal connection and an appreciation that we have time to do because we're not immersed in work. And that's such a valuable thing to have that and share it with others. And it's partly, I think, because of the way Friends was started when it was the Alumni Association, and it was about taking a break from doing all this work and just being together. And we still have that.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful way of looking at it. We've taken away the institutional and the work aspects, but the connection, you don't want to lose that. And this is a great way to maintain a connection with, our generation. But what I hope is that the next generations down start coming in and, maintaining their own set of friendships in this way.
Yeah. And I expect it will. I do. But that's what Friends did. It gave an element to lead communication that is unique. And you really almost can't put it in words, but it was there at the beginning. And I tell you, I'm going to have to mention her again, but Pam Oselka.
She was a wonderful human being.
She was the most gracious person I've ever known.
Yeah.
And her family was so gracious. We stayed at her house, all of us. And when we had our council meetings, back then it was called the council, and she was so incredibly gracious. I never heard her raise her voice. And when she would start to
Neither.
when she would maybe want to disagree or give you another idea, she would say, you know what? She would say that, like, you know what? And then you knew that there was a different idea coming. But
I love that.
just to preface it that way was, oh, it was delightful.
Yeah, there are a couple of those women that worked at the headquarters that I just still, for the life of me, can't understand how they stayed so kind and considerate and welcoming through everything that they went through. There's just, Rebecca and some of these people. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, how do they stay so nice?
Well, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I have such great memories of those times because it was calm. I never saw anything ruffle anyone. Sue Christensen, when she orchestrated that room, I mean, she looked at every picture hung and made sure it was, straight and all that. It was a slow process, and I'm a doer. And I used to think, let's hurry this thing up. And I was so wrong, because just the process of doing all that together, slow and sure, and enjoying the process as much as the end result, was a great example for me. It changed the way I approach things.
Yes, enjoying the process. I think a lot of the things that we have done in the past, if we were more focused on doing the thing and not waiting for it to be done. I can remember setting up technology rooms and going insane. And then it's like, oh, well, that actually was fun, but I wasn't paying attention because I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
Well, I tend to do that too, but of course, I've slowed down because I'm 74 years old now, and I've had to slow down, and that's been the best thing. I can embrace that part of aging, really, and take time to enjoy and not feel like I have to be producing all the time.
That is a wonderful piece of advice to give to anyone who is, transitioning from the world of work.
Well, and I had to learn that with babies. I was a doer, and then I had this baby, and she had to be held most of the time, and I couldn't get up and do. We didn't have remote controls back then, and we didn't have cordless phones, and so I had to sit with her and be. And oh my goodness, well, I give talks now on Ministry of Presence, different places, and I always bring up that with the baby, you just have to be. If you ever want to learn how to it's almost a form of meditation. Just holding a baby, not being able to communicate verbally, but just with the heart. I mean,
Watching them breathe.
Yeah, that's a healing process, in my opinion.
It was for me as well.
I would never have slowed down to do that if I hadn't breastfed. I would have been propping the bottle and I don't know what.
Oh yeah. That's a really good point. And now I'm working with horses, and it's the same thing. Stop trying to make the horse do this, that, and the other. Just stand there and be with it and breathe. And that's where you're going to get your bond. And it's true with people too. You try and have conversations. You don't have to be yakking the whole time.
Well, I had a mother-in-law who was so dear to me, and she had Alzheimer's. And everybody was always trying to get her to talk, I guess, to see how much she didn't remember. I don't know, but it was also the feeling that, oh, she needs to be engaged. And I understood that, but I used to take my dog, again, the animal presence, and I'd take the dog over and sit on the floor in her nursing home. And it was wonderful. It was a beautiful feeling because we had the three of us, and she loved that dog, and I loved the dog, and everybody else in the nursing home loved the dog. And so it was just so sweet. But I'm the kind of person that has to be kind of forced into those situations. And now I'm actually looking for those situations more than I used to.
But an interesting part of life to be in. Do you have any other little advices or pieces of advice or information that you'd like to share?
I'm not much of an advice giver. I hope. I'm sure my kids would tell you differently, but I don't particularly like getting advice that I haven't asked for. And I know it's well-meaning. It's because someone wants to help me.
Great point.
But I don't even finish what I'm talking about before the advice starts coming in. And I'm a second-born rebellious person still. And I start to hear that advice, and I haven't even finished, what the situation is. And so I have been known to say, well, thanks. I didn't actually ask you for that advice, but I'll take it. I've actually said that to people.
I guess we've learned that in the Leche League too, though, information, not advice.
Yes, yes. But we're
And
so
I think
virtual.
sharing experiences maybe isn't the same as giving advice, but sometimes it can help people.
Yes. And and then I have to look at other people's motives and say, this is just to be helpful. It's not to boss me around. But remember, I'm that old second born that doesn't want to, you're not the boss of me. So I've had to work on myself to realize what people's motives are. And they're very rarely bad, mean motives. Most of the time it's well-meaning.
That's something that I took a long time to remember. Everybody actually, very rarely is someone trying to hurt you or be mean to you or get something. Most
Well, and-
people are trying or have good intentions and just not coming through as well as they should.
If they are being vicious, and I've been at the end of that a few times.
Oh, there have been some, yes.
Yeah, but I realize they're probably coming out of a place of pain, not righteousness, or if there's pain behind that. And so I can have compassion for pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
And then my reaction. Now, I'm not saying we don't need to stick up for ourselves, because sometimes we do, but it's knowing the motive, and there's all kinds of things going underneath the surface that we don't understand and maybe never will.
You're absolutely right about that. And I think that's a great way to sum up what we've been talking about, that, we have learned to really know people a little more than we probably did before we started our journey. And our Friends of Leche League companions, they're our lifelines.
No doubt about that. No doubt. I was lucky when I was first asked, and the second time, and it was a part of life that I had been missing, I think, a little bit before that. So I'm grateful.
Well, thank you. And I'm certainly grateful to have worked with you the many times that I have. And thank you for talking to us.
Well,
I really
you're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank
And
you for asking.
well, you have stuff to say. I am very glad. All right.
All
Goodbye.
right.
And we'll talk
Bye-bye.
again later.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Gail Moak. I'm the president of Friends of Leche League, and we are here as part of our oral history series, interviewing people connected to the history of Friends of Leche League. We're celebrating our 35th anniversary. So today, as you can see, we have Marion Thompson. She is the co-founder of Leche League International, and just as she was at the picnic, which marks the beginning of Leche League International, she was also at the conference that marks the beginning of Friends of Leche League. So Marion, what do you remember about that event 35 years ago?
Well, first I want to admit that my part was so minimal. I was amazed when I was given a plaque at one conference that said wait, here, I've got it here.
Oh, cool.
It said, in appreciation for initiating the alum association, the Leche League International Alum Association. I was at another meeting and somebody came and got me and said, you got to come with me. And I went in this room and they gave me this plaque and I left because I had to be back to the other session. So that was amazing. So what was my part? I was at the conference in Texas, and the only thing I really remember was the conversation we had after the conference with the ACLs. I think there were 3 of them maybe, and I'm sure Ellen must have been one of them. The ACLs had cooperated in doing the closing session. And so we were just sort of sitting around relaxing, and the whole idea, the discussion of having an alumni association came up, which I guess Ellen was probably ready for. She was thinking of it. and then. And on the board, which I was on the board at that time, some of us occasionally just would have little mentions and say, you know, an alumni association would be so nice. But this is in the days before the internet. So we were never in touch with each other. We lived in other parts of the country, and we might have those passing ideas shared once in a while. But I love the idea. I love the idea of staying in touch with leaders after they finished with their work as a leader or their children were older. So we talked about it. And one of the things I remember they talked about was going on trips. And I thought that would be wonderful because you'd be going with people who you really like and are comfortable with, you know. And so I told them I would go back to the board and I would bring the paper that they put together, a presentation of what they wanted to accomplish. And the board voted for it immediately. There wasn't anybody, you know, who didn't think it was a good idea. So that was it. I mean, I just sort of said great, and I brought it back to the board. And you know, but Ellen and the other leaders who worked with her, you know, they're the ones who really decided on what it should be about and put a pen to paper, which is what you did in those days, and you know, thought it through. So I am so grateful to them because it's just brought so much joy into my life and to anybody's life who stays in touch. Everybody's so excited to stay in touch, to see the leaders from years ago that, you know, you had a connection with.
I found in one of the files, this is a postcard that you sent to Ellen.
Oh, what did I say?
When I looked at it, I said, oh my goodness, it's even Marion's handwriting. And you write, it must have been right after the conference, because you write, I'm getting a good response from everyone I've talked to about the Alumni Association. And then you mentioned Betty Wagner and a few other people. And so there it is.
Oh, good. Well, proof that I did my job.
Yes, thank you so much, because it's been an organization that I really enjoyed being part of. So thank you. So what do you think of the original vision of when it was called the Leche League Alumni Association and how it is implementing that vision today?
Well, I think they're really trying to keep moving forward in terms of what the connection can be, what they can do to make it even more valuable to these leaders. And, you know, they're just not sitting going on their first perception of what it should be. So they're, you know, looking at it all the time. And I think it's the time to mention about the change in the name, because, you know, when you came out saying you were looking for a new name, and what popped into my head was what Dr. Ratner wanted to do years ago. He wanted to start a group for the fathers to, you know, the fathers were so helpful and an important part of Leche. And he was going to call that group Friends of Leche League. And that never happened. And that title was just sitting, waiting for somebody to recognize it and think it would be helpful. So I just love that Dr. Ratner also is a part of it going on, because he was such an important part of the Leche League.
Yeah, looking through the files, I see they had the same questions about alumni back then that we do now. Is that, first of all, the Latin is hard for many of us these days. What actually alumni means, and it's not a group that you have to graduate from being a leader. You can be a
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that was one of the reasons. But then I was looking through some of the old files, and another idea was to call it the doula organization.
Oh.
As you know, we were. Yeah.
No, I think it's important for them to realize you don't have to graduate from being a leader, that you can still be a leader and be part of it. And I think especially if you've got older children, because the discussions among parents and mothers of older children are so helpful. And in Continuum, I mean, Continuum began to mean to me what the Leche League news meant in the beginning, when you would go get it from the news, from the mailbox, and sit down and read it all the way through. That's what I would feel when Continuum would come out, because it now met me where I was as an older woman.
So Marion, you have been part of alum trips since I think St. Augustine. You've been on every trip since then. What do the trips mean to you?
Well, first of all, going to St. Augustine was very special. I'd never been there, and I finally got to see this place that, you know, was responsible for our name. But what is really brings a smile to my face when I think about the trips is meeting other leaders. And I wish I didn't forget names, but even one time when it was a leader and her sister and her mother came, and her mother and I were the same age, just about a year or two. We had such a great time sharing books we liked and talk. In fact, I lent her my Kindle for a while so she could read the book that I was reading at the moment. So you just never know who's going to show up, and it's always so joyful to make those connections again.
And how was it traveling with the other founders? Because I think you mentioned, or one of the founders that we had on the trip mentioned, that you actually didn't get that much time together.
Well, that probably was Marianne. I don't know if the other founders were able to come.
Mhm.
I was scratching my brain or my head. But yes, Marianne and I really loved that, because we didn't. I mean, when our children were small, we didn't have time together, except when we got together to write the womanly art or have a meeting. But this time we could just talk about our families, you know, or anything that came into our mind. And because it was somebody that we really spent almost a lifetime with, it was a real treat to be able to spend that time together. So that was always nice. I would always room with Marianne too during that time. And it was just, you know, we wouldn't have had that without going on those trips.
So the Leche League Alumni Association was also very involved in conferences when we had in-person conferences. So for instance, they would put on a tea.
Yes.
And, part of the tea was a We Remember ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
What are your memories from those events?
I'm finding, well, now the remember ceremonies are harder to get there, because there's so many people that are close to you and close to your age, and you've had a long history with. But without the alums, we wouldn't have any remembrance of leaders. I mean, which just seems horrible, that, you know, that they could just be let go and nobody knows about them. But this is such a beautiful thing to have these tributes, and also to be reading the names out loud, you know, and followed by that lovely poem. It's just very special, and it adds so much as to what we feel about leaders, how grateful we are to the leaders who are La Leche. I mean, La Leche wouldn't be going if it was still the founders. So they are La Leche, and we just are so grateful to them. And that we remember as a little tribute, but, you know, at least it's something.
I agree. It is a beautiful ceremony and also heartrending. You know,
It is.
I'm a little bit teary-eyed right now thinking about it.
Me too. Right.
Yeah, I was recording. I was just doing some tech work on the We Remember ceremony that you just did. You just recorded, and so I wasn't paying too much attention. But then I heard a really good friend's name be mentioned. It was like, oh my goodness. So I had
Yeah,
to take a little break.
right, right. But also, I, want to mention how grateful I am for those women who came into my life. Other people have heard me say it, but I finally decided the Leche was something like a big industrial magnet that went around the globe and just pulled up the people that we needed in our life,
Mhm.
and needed not just to do the work of the Leche, but needed for our own nourishment and growth and becoming better persons. So, what a great treat to be
Mhm.
part of that.
So I think we've talked a lot about history. I mean, but what are your hopes for the future, both for Friends of La Leche League and La Leche League International?
Uh, for Friends, just they keep on going,
Mhm.
and that they more and women realize what it offers for them, because it is a natural next step after being a mother of small children or babies or that sort of thing. And that my hope for La Leche is that we get through our differences, that we continue to respect each person's right to have a different opinion, so that we can just calmly and quietly talk together about those differences and be able to come to some kind of resolution. There, you know, the old days, they used to say, if you're presented with a problem, there must be a solution. And the problem signals something that needs to be solved. So the thing is to approach it with respect, approach it not with anger, approach it and say, thank you. Now we've got to really look at this, because it's going to make us stronger and better when we get through it. But we have to get through it first.
So with social media, it seems like there's so much strife going on.
Oh,
Do you feel like in the 65 years of La Leche League's history, there's always been strife, or is it particularly worse now?
we didn't know about it like we know now. But also, it seems now it's more polarized, but that's the whole world is, politics, science, everything. It's polarized. But and the fact that people can speak quickly on Facebook or whatever, and it can be very hurtful, and you should think before you write, you should think before you say something about somebody, and I would say you should think, how important is this? And if it's important, say it in a way that it can be heard. Because if somebody is yelling or trolling you because of your position, you don't even consider what they're saying, because it's not important. You're hurt. If they want you to listen to what they're saying, then they've got to say it in a way that you can hear it. So I think that's one of the big problems with Facebook. I love Facebook for seeing my family and grandchildren. Just today, I got to see my youngest great-grandchildren child, who's now 18 months old, Penelope. And, it was a video, and just, it brings so much joy to your life. So my hope is that people can use it in a good way, and not use it to hurt other people, or to insist on your way is the only way and refuse to discuss it.
I'm very grateful in Friends of La Leche League that maybe because we're a little bit older, we came from a generation with different manners, but a lot of that strife we've avoided in Friends of La Leche League. And we've always wanted to be like a safe haven for people who could come in with different viewpoints, different perspectives, and talk respectfully to each other, like you just
Yes. Yeah, come to think of it, that's really true. And when I started Another Look, was breastfeeding and HIV/AIDS, I invited people with very different views, and yet everybody treated the other person with respect, and we accomplished a lot because of that. So yes, I think that's wonderful. That I hadn't even thought about it, but how Friends has actually kept people to be friendly. Good.
I'm not perfect in every situation, but we do try.
Who is perfect? I haven't met that person.
So when you think back to Friends of La Leche League, what brings a smile to your face?
The people I meet. That's the conversations I have, the surprise at seeing somebody I haven't seen in 10 or 15 or 20 or 30, 40 years. You know, but at the same time, I want to thank everybody who's contributed to the founders being able to attend those trips. I mean, for some of us, we would not be there if we weren't unable to do it by people's gifts. So it's, you know, it's a great thank you to us, and we just appreciate it.
Any last words of wisdom before we end this interview?
Oh, that's hard wisdom. No, just I love all of you. I thank you for what you've done and what you're part of and what you continue to be. And mainly, thank you for being you, because that's what we all really give to people, is ourselves and who we are and what we believe. So thank you for being you.
Well, as usual, Marion, we always honor and respect you so much, but when you speak, you are always thanking other people. So
I'm grateful. I am grateful. That's right.
all right, so it's wonderful talking to you this afternoon, and thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gail. It was great spending time with you too.
Okay, all right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Welcome. I'm Susan Moxney Thomas, and I'm here with my co-panelists, Joan Crothers and Marion Thompson. Before we begin our We Remember ceremony, I would like to share a little bit about the history of honoring our departed leaders. In 2001, the Friends of La Leche League, then known as La Leche League Alumni Association, hosted the Alumni Tea at the La Leche League International Conference in Chicago. After asking current leaders and former leaders for names and years of death for former leaders, 111 names were sent to the alums. The idea for how to honor our deceased La Leche League leaders came from Nancy Franklin of Texas. She spoke of the annual muster at Texas A&M University, where they honor all the Aggies who have died over the previous year. We agreed it seemed a good way to honor our leaders, and we chose a selection from the Reformed Jewish prayer book titled, We Remember Them. It was respectful of all cultures and brought an aura of solemnity to an important occasion. Joan Crothers from Rhode Island created a PowerPoint slideshow with the first slide showing a glowing candle, drawing attention from the social to a reflective time. Nancy Franklin and founder Marion Thompson read, We Remember Them, followed by a slide for each leader as her name was read. As they read the final name, the candle reappeared. As the lights in the room came up, there was a hushed silence in the room as leaders remembered those they had known. There were hugs, tears, and smiles remembering friends. Nancy then shared the leather-bound volume with the names written in calligraphy by me, then Susan Moxney Baker from Massachusetts. The book was kept at La Leche League International headquarters, but now I hold them as we have 2 books to contain all the names. And I bring them to the Friends of La Leche League trips, where a We Remember ceremony is conducted. Since we've not had an in-person La Leche League International Conference since 2007, The Friends of Leche League began holding ceremonies in conjunction with their trips. The ceremonies have taken place in the following years and locations. 2001, the International Conference in Chicago, Illinois. 2005, the International Conference in Washington, D.C. 2007, the International Conference in Chicago, Illinois. 2011, the Friends trip to St. Augustine, Florida. 2013, the Friends trip to Albuquerque, New Mexico. 2015, the Friends trip to Charleston, South Carolina. 2017, the Friends of Leche League trip to San Diego, California. 2019, the Friends trip to New Orleans. And now in 2021, at the Leche League International 65th Anniversary Virtual Conference. The We Remember list may be accessed at any time on the Friends of Leche League website, which is friendsofll.org. We would like to receive the names of any leaders worldwide whose deaths you know of. There is a link to a form on the website where you can fill out on your computer, tablet, or phone, complete with a place where you can enter the link to an obituary. Once submitted, we make sure that the name goes onto the list on the We Remember page and that the calligraphy gets done in the book. Please share this information with any current or past leaders that you know. This session is being recorded on August 31st, 2021. Any names we receive after this date will be honored in the next We Remember tribute. To date, we have memorialized 420 of our leaders. Today, we add 47 departed leaders whose names we have received since 2019.
We have two leaders whose year we do not know. Linda Herbert McConnell from Canada and Alana Pickard from Canada. In 1994, Vera Hinman, Ontario, Canada. 2015, Martha Collier, Alabama, United States. In 2016, Margaret Metcalf, British Columbia, Canada.
In 2017, Joyce Way from Ontario, Canada. In 2018, Yvonne McKenzie, British Columbia, Canada. In 2019, Patricia Hamilton, Texas, United States. Tricia Jalbert, New Hampshire, United States. Julia Keeling, Ontario, Canada. Carol Kolar, Indiana, United States. Deirdre D. McEnany, New Zealand. Maureen Mitchell, Ontario, Canada. Barry O'Brien, Texas, United States. And Sally Adams, Pennsylvania, United States.
In 2020, Lori Aurenhorster, Wisconsin, United States. Dale Boland, California, United States. Linda Jean Coleman, Washington, United States. Kathleen Gomez, Utah, United States. Suzanne Gullery, New Zealand. Christina Tina Fulger Hart, New York, United States. Phoebe Kerness, South Carolina, United States. Eileen LaChapelle, Florida, United States. Judy O'Connor, Texas, United States. Pamela Oselka, Illinois, United States. Wadia D. Russell, New York, United States. Madeline Carol Kerchek Slamka, Wisconsin, United States. Jessica Ann Thomas, Michigan, United States. Karen Tornga, Michigan, United States. Marguerite Weber, Quebec, Canada. Ruth Williams, Ohio, United States. Linda Geller Warzer, Texas, United States.
2021, Susan Clark, Quebec, Canada. Carol Ann Esposito, Illinois, United States. Jane Timberlake Helwig, North Carolina, United States. Marianne Myers, Wisconsin, United States. Karen Margaret Hill Pierce, Nova Scotia, Canada. Mary B. Precocious, Pennsylvania, United States. Kathleen Katie Ratchford, Illinois, United States. Elizabeth Willow Willoughby Newton Reed, Tennessee, United States. Alice Roddy, Virginia, United States. Karen Rusher, New Jersey, United States. Marilyn Schroeder, Ohio, United States. Rebecca Ann Becky Smith, Texas, United States. Terry Stafford, British Columbia, Canada. Stephanie Jordan, Georgia, United States. And Beth Ann O'Donnell, Massachusetts, United States.
And now we will conclude with "We Remember Them." Feel free to join us in the refrain. At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we remember them.
At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them.
At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them.
At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them.
At the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember them.
At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them.
As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them.
When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them.
When we are sick and when we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them.
When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them.
When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them.
When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them.
As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them.